One. Thunderbirds are go.
Shh. You're not meant to say the one. Have you not seen all the movies where it's like, even though this is a podcast, I'm lifting up my two and my one finger. This is a
Right.
descriptive podcast about how we do things.
Oh man, we're new to this game. We've got lots to learn, I'm sure. But how are you doing this week? Anyway.
Yeah, good. A little bit tired. We're trying to sleep train Maven. So yeah, it's fun. It's super fun.
I can't remember what that means because it's not like a.
I don't
There's
know
lots
what
of.
it means either. I think it's just like, I think it's just something that can describe fatigue.
I seem to remember because I do. I Aoife will tell you this. When something comes up like that we want to find out stuff about, I really enjoy researching stuff. So I don't research stuff just a little bit. I like to look at different articles and go onto Reddit and look at books and all this kind of stuff and listen to podcasts and sleep training is one of those things that just has so many opinions on what works, what doesn't work, and it's quite hard to get through all the crap that's out there. This is what you should do, and then your friend sends you a book. This book really worked for our kid, and then you read it for 5 minutes and you try and apply some stuff, and they don't react, so you give up, and then the next night they sleep all the way through, and you go, it's because we gave them veggies for dinner instead of pasta, so they haven't got any carbs in it. And then the next night you give them veggies, and then they don't sleep at all. And then, yeah, it's like a mystery. If someone could solve that, they'd be a very rich person, I think.
Well, actually, this is the thing. There's so many people pretending to solve it, and they are very rich people, even though they're not solving. It just kind of made me laugh there that someone gave you a book. Like, when the fuck do you have the chance to read a book about someone teaching some new human how to sleep? Where in the day do you have that time? So, like, I bet you got 5 pages in.
You find time when you're sleep deprived. You're like, there must be something here that I can take. I'm going to read this book, even though I do not read books. I'm going to read this book from front to back because there might be a top class secret in here that I will find. And yeah, you realize afterwards that there's no top class secret. So
no, it's the trick to it is as complex as the little human that you're trying to keep alive.
Yeah, like no one could sleep train me if they tried. So like trying to sleep train the little guys. Anyway, so you're sleep training,
whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. And you're balancing that out with your day-to-day work. And what am I doing? I'm not. Our little guy is, what's he, coming up to 2? There's no sleep training going on. He's sleeping through the night. 10-week-old is sleeping through the night, which is really odd. It's like he's storing up his non-sleepless nights for chaos later on. And then I've got a week off in a couple of weeks, so I'm just trying to tie up a few loose ends, get a few leads out, send a few proposals, and also one thing I did this week was I dived into Slater, the new JavaScript AI kind of thing that Edgar Allan and the team are built, and I know you use that. You use it a ton, don't you? I've only just started using it, and the jury's still out for me, but I know you use it a ton.
I use it as much as I use Webflow. I love it. I use it.
Okay.
Yeah, I use it every day. It's brilliant.
What does it do exactly? Because I know there's headlines. It's an AI tool, and it helps you write code and JavaScript code, but that's kind of not really what it does, is it? Well, it does, but
that side of it is one aspect. But to be honest, the difference between asking Slater how to write a script or debug a script and asking ChatGPT to do the same thing is, I can't see the difference. For me, what it does is it's a really simple way of adding custom code, JavaScript, and even custom CSS to your Webflow project. And
But why? But what do you mean by simple? Because at the moment, custom CSS you can add into the Webflow settings, project settings. You can add it into the page settings, or you can add it into an embed on the page.
Yeah.
With JavaScript, it's more. Well, you can do exactly the same for JavaScript. The difference is CSS that you add in the designer in an embed then affects what you see on the screen. Whereas if you add it to the page settings or into the project settings, it doesn't impact what you see. And every time you have to publish the site again and see how it impacts things. But Slater's slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah. So what Slater gives you a script that connects your Webflow project to your Slater project. You just put it in the footer, and it essentially just connects the two of them. The thing with Webflow is you can put your JavaScript into the footer, the head. You can have it as global. You can have it at local on page settings. But you can't see what that does. You can write it. You can make assumptions, and you can write it correctly, but you can't see the output. You can't see what that code does until you publish to Webflow.
Yeah.
And then if you just take a very simple thing that Webflow doesn't do. Webflow doesn't allow you have, not allow you, it doesn't have a native feature for, the year that one would put at the bottom, at the footer of their website. Copyright this year for this company.
Yeah.
There's the script is that you would use there. It's either a JavaScript or a jQuery script. Is essentially find the current year and then find the element with either a class or an ID of, let's say, current year, and inject whatever the current year is into that div. So that's how we do it. That's not a complex script. It's a very useful script. But when you add that to Webflow, you can't see that works until you have published your Webflow page. So when it comes to debugging, something as simple as that. Let's say you've misspelt current year on the ID or on the what more than likely happens in Webflow is that you've changed the class name from current year to this year, for example, and it no longer works. Like debugging that involves going into Webflow, looking at your code, going to your deployed page and inspecting, but it's very hard to live debug that in Webflow. So
because if you change it in Webflow, you then have to republish it, and then in the browser, then you have to refresh the republished site to then restart your debugging, essentially.
Yes, exactly. So what Slater does is you still don't see the custom JavaScript or the custom code in Webflow, but what it does now is that the published page, it deploys that code directly to that published page from Slater. So you can have Slater open, make your updates, and save, and then refresh. And now you can see if your code works or not.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about the workflow. So if you're working on a site at the moment, the workflow is you edit your code, then you republish. You publish on Webflow, and then you refresh the browser and see if you've done something right or wrong, or see what happens. Whereas now you just have the Webflow designer with the script to Slater, and then you're debugging in the browser. And if you go, actually, I need to change something in the script, you just change it in Slater, press save, refresh the page, and because Slater is independent from Webflow, it's the browser is now pulling the new code or the refactored code that you pulled into the browser and making a change if it works or not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like a a supercharged. It just supercharges your workflow to a certain extent.
It's very, very similar to how if you would have VS Code connected to GitHub, connected and then deploying locally or deploying to a website. It's very, very similar. That's how you would do it, is that you would make your updates, you would debug, you would save and refresh. So essentially that's the nice workflow that has now been added to your custom code environment.
Yeah. So,
And
but does it not bring some issues? It's like, say I'm working on a site on Webflow, and then I go, hey, Ailín, can you come in and make some changes? You could, at the moment, you could come in, say I wrote all my JavaScript in the page settings. You could come in and you'd know exactly where it is. You could change it.
This is in Webflow, right?
In Webflow, yes. It's all I guess the power of Webflow with workflow is everything's kind of self-contained. It's sort of, even the apps that come in now, at least if you have the app installed, it's sort of self-contained in that. Whereas with Slater now, you've got this kind of a sidekick app, but you also then need to give people access, or the developers access to that bit of the app, because you know that. So it's interesting.
Currently, I'm working with a backend dev, and I've given him access. He's got full access to all the Slater code for the particular project that I'm working on.
That you work on,
prevent him getting, and I have prevented him getting access to other environments within the Slater app. So if you're doing, like, I just give a very simple example there of change year. Is Slater needed for change year? No, absolutely not. You just get that tiny little script. I think it's like 5 lines. You put it into your footer. You make sure that everything is connected correctly, and you publish. And there you've got a nice little change year on your footer. It's absolutely not needed for that. But what it is needed for is, what I found difficult in Webflow was that you can only do 10, I think it's 10,000 characters. And then that's it. So it's 10,000 characters per custom embed. And if you think that there's the global footer, the global header, then you've got your page footer, page headers, and then you can have custom embeds as well. Like, if you want, you can go down the route of having very specific, like Webflow allows you to do this, having very specific JavaScript for specific pages, and they do specific things. But managing that is a nightmare. If you've got like even a relatively small application of 10 pages, where did I put that script to make sure that when I click this thing happens? I know it's for this page, but did I put it in the global or did I put it in the page? And like, it very quickly gets messy trying to manage that. And ultimately, when it comes down to, like, if you've got syntax errors, if you've got any kind of errors in that, it's very difficult to debug. So once you start getting to, if you ever get to the stage that you've gone above 10,000 characters, you need to get out of Webflow, and you either need to use Slater or you need to use like a GitHub VS Code, something like that. So what's the workflow for Slater is literally this simple. What is your webflow.io domain? Copy that, put it into Slater. Then you go down to like the bottom right. It's a button called scripts. You click that, you get your script, you put it into the footer of your Webflow project, save, publish, bang, it's connected. It's literally that simple. There, you to do something similar with VS Code, GitHub, it's possible, and it's not too difficult, but it's just not that simple. It's not as simple as that. And
no. I saw Webbay did a kind of video on that, didn't he? And it's
awesome.
But you're going into a little, you're going off a cliff into some kind of foreign territory a little bit, even.
Well, we are in the world of no code. So,
well, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. Is Slater is a no code. It helps you organize your code in a no code way, rather than having to go into the code management side of code with GitHub and dependencies and making sure, all those. Once you got it, you got it. But Slater makes it that much easier to do, click, click,
Yeah,
click.
and
Yeah.
it's kind of like Slater definitely is not no code. Like it's low code at very minimum, but it's definitely like a coding environment. But it just makes it's just very straightforward to get started within that environment, and it's super fast. It's incredibly powerful, and it just works. And I've just once I started working in it, I'm like, this is it. I'm using this literally as much as I'm using Webflow at the moment, and it's kind of cool because I went away from coding for the last 4 to 5 years because of how awesome Webflow is, and now I'm coming back full circle and getting back into like writing. It's particularly jQuery scripts, like not going into anything too complex, but there's huge not huge. There's a lot of fun with trying to figure out solutions to the limitations of Webflow, and Slater really allows you to do that, particularly with things like we all have like the uh, we've all come across the thing of like you try and use a tab or a tab element, or you try and use a slider or carousel element, and you can't connect it to CMS. Well, you can reverse engineer those things, and not easily, but you can reverse engineer what's going on there, and you can connect um, the Webflow CMS to that. And through Webflow or through Slater, you are um, you're getting the interactivity. You're creating that interactivity. So I've been having a lot of fun building out. Yeah, just targeting the limitations of Webflow and building out solutions in Slater.
Yeah, it's like it's just so where I come from, maybe a different well, it's just understanding how it works is like FinSuite, obviously with their attribute solution,
Hmm.
it's brilliant.
Yeah,
Like
awesome, love it.
this well documented. They have tutorials. A lot of other people have tutorials on how to use it,
Hmm.
and essentially what they're doing is they have some JavaScript in a
Hmm.
file sitting on their CDN, so
Hmm.
their, let's call it, file server. And when you put attributes in for a specific, I don't know whether it's a filter, for example,
Hmm.
they say put this link into our script, which is a load of JavaScript,
Hmm.
and then that JavaScript uses the attributes on your page to make things work. So with
Yeah.
Slater, what you're doing is essentially you're creating your own little repository of little JavaScript snippets that your Webflow then has access to. And
Mm.
then whatever you do on the page, you can work with attributes, you can work with classes, IDs, all
Hmm.
sorts of things. You could use, you could put GSAP JavaScript in there. You could do all sorts of different things. It then creates your own little managed like repo repository of your JavaScript code, which you can access from anywhere on the website. And what I really like about Slater the other day when I was trying it was you don't have to load all of your JavaScript on every single page of your website. I've got a client who has lots of distinct. They have their marketing pages, they have their course pages, and then they have a blog. And I just wanted some carousel functionality on their blog, and I didn't want to
Mm.
have to load all of that JavaScript on every single other page.
Yeah.
So with Slater, I could select specific pages or specific pages within a folder and say
Hmm.
just run it on this. And all I had to do was drop one script into my Webflow project. I didn't have to drop it on the same page as
No.
I want. And then before you know it, I can manage the code. And that to me, as you said, like it's brilliant. Now the downside I have found, and I was speaking to the Slater guys about it on their Slack channel. They're super responsive. Is I work with clients that I have a long-term relationship with, and I also have clients where I have a 2-week sprint where it's relatively straightforward, but there's still a bit of JavaScript involved. And come to the end of that, and I go, right, here's your Webflow site. I'm going to transfer it over to your Webflow account, and off you go. Good luck. And some clients take that and they tinker with it and whatever. Some clients don't touch that for months at a time. And my problem with Slater in that instance is you have to pay, I think it's $10 a month to keep that code accessible to the live site. And obviously I'm not going to pay that. And sometimes the client goes, hey, well, why am I paying 10 quid a month to host some code?
Mhm.
That it should cost me nothing to host this code because I should have it in Webflow. So it's helped me with my workflow, but it's not helping them at all with their site, because the alternative is for me to put it into their Webflow pages. So it's an interesting dynamic, because on some sites I go like, hey, dear client, can you pay for JetBoost? And they go, why? And I go, oh, because it does this, this, and this. And they go, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then I go, oh, can you pay for Slater? What does it do? Well, it hosts this little bit of code that the carousel relies on. Now, is that just that bit there? Can you not put that in Webflow? I was like, well, yeah, I can put it in Webflow, and you could put it in Webflow, but when I've used the workflow of Slater, and it's so nice to categorize and put it on different pages and organize it in one script, and I then have to unbundle that and move it all over to Webflow and put it into the different pages manually. So I definitely see there's definitely a cutoff point where I think it's efficient for certain projects and inefficient for smaller, more static project. So
Yeah,
definitely,
I
definitely
get what you're
pros and
saying
cons.
there.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there, but ultimately, even if you have to go down the route of moving, so if I'm kind of going to say you're talking about a 5-page website that needs a carousel and a couple of pages, that's not a huge script. So you move that over to Webflow, you put it into the global footer, and Bob's your uncle. You send it to your client, they have the custom code, they have the Webflow project. To me, that is not a big, um, uh, I don't think that's a big issue for the benefits of being able to write that custom carousel script easily and debug it easily. Yeah, you got to do a bit of copy and paste and move it over, but when it gets to the stage that you're like, hey client, you actually need this because of all this custom functionality, it's worth $10 a month. Like that's when you're getting into like a much greater, I suppose your solutions are like, you could use FinSuite and they will do the exact same thing, but it would be going down the route of like, you're creating search functionality, um filtration, like filter functionality. Filtration, it's like we're doing a water testing.
Improving the water quality. Yeah.
Yeah, but even like, okay, I'll give an example. Like the other day, I for a project recently, I created a custom lightbox for a team section. So on click, and it's a CMS driven custom lightbox with a slider. So you click on Matt Evans, up pops Matt Evans and a blurb about Matt Evans, and then you can go left and right, and it goes to Ailín, or it goes to Timothy Ricks or whatever. And but it's based off of that. Like they are now able to add to that, delete from that, add team members, delete team members, and they don't need to come back to me. Whereas if you were to do that in a more traditional Webflow environment, they would always have to come back to you, or else they wouldn't come back to you. And then one of the buttons would pop up and there'd be an empty space there because the lightbox itself isn't dynamic. So creating things like that, um, even that you can copy the script over and put it in. It's only one script, but if you have multiples of those, then yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think there needs to be, and maybe it's something that Slater can put on their marketing blurb, is that I think there is a point where it becomes definitely worth it, and then there's definitely a point before that where it's maybe not worth it. Because the way I've thought about it is like, it's a dev tool that really benefits us. So when we're building, it's
Mm.
it's pretty cool to build with Slater because the way it works, the way they've designed it is very cool. And as the site gets bigger, it gets better and it gets better and better, and the organization workflow gets better and more
Mhm.
powerful. And that's not even talking about, having a little AI bot next to you helping you with the code. But there also needs to be, I think personally, needs to be an acknowledgement that for smaller, more, let's call them less dynamic sites, as in
Mm.
they're not changing their code all of the time. They they need to somehow come up with a solution that allows a dev to pay to have this tool next to them because it makes my life easier. But
Mm.
they also need to have a solution that allows the dev to pay for that, but also allows a client to not have to pay $10 a month to host
Yeah, I suppose what they
it.
could do quite, uh, here's what I'm saying, easily, but like a solution to that would be, because they do have the Webflow app that perhaps, we all get to the stage where we've finished building our project and we're sending it over to the client. We're guiding the client on how to create a Webflow account, setting you up as a freelancer on that account. And when it gets to that stage, maybe there is like a save to Webflow global settings, save to Webflow global footer, or save to Webflow global header kind
Yeah,
of option that they could have there where, yeah, like at the very end of the project, you press a button, it just sends that script over, it saves. Because even like FinSuite have got a nice like custom code environment that's through their extension. So I'm
yeah.
sure there's some smart person that
See,
could figure
yeah,
something out, like, and that would be a good solution. But you have to remember, this product is it's so young.
it
It's
is very
so
young. Yeah,
young,
and
and like
they got a relatively small team as well, haven't they?
yeah, and it's like what it's doing for such a young product and how it's working, and it's there's no downtime. You're not worried about your 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 custom code not working. Like it's really, they've done a really stellar job, and as you said, they're responsive on Slack, so they are constantly improving and innovating, and they will take suggestions like that on board. I'm really really excited to see what they do next and how they make our lives easier. But I just, even like with all these like not pitfalls, these potential issues, like I don't see them as a problem. I see them as an annoying little step that I have to do. But the how much better my working life has been because of Slater, I think it's worth it right now. Like, I'll just give you another example, which I just figured out like this week. So I was saying there that I'm working with a backend dev, and he's doing like analytics and security and all that kind of like magic that's even greater magic than I don't like. It
The,
just
the
I don't even
clever
know
the
it.
clever people do
It's
stuff that.
yeah. I think his name is Gandalf, and he just does things and it works. So I've given Gandalf access to Slater, and he says I shall not pass into certain areas into the Slater Slater environment. But we were running into issues because scripts that I wrote and script that he had written for the analytics were like, they were causing errors, and he was like, oh, I need this to be the last thing that loads, and I want it to be in the footer. And I was like, oh, okay, how do we do this? Because at the end of the day, it's one script that you connect from Slater to Webflow. But if you go into the pages, there's two options. There's the script at the bottom right, and you click it, and there's the script. And you go into the individual pages, and there's a little drop down button, and there is a development and production script underneath that. Two individual scripts that have um, an additional forward slash with a number, 4-digit number at the end of it, and that is specific to the page. So the ones that we load is a global script,
Yeah,
but then you can have a page specific one, which means for this particular scenario, we needed this one piece of code to run last because we needed the whole page to do all its thing. We needed the membership software to do its thing. And then we needed to fire this so that we could start tracking people. So this allows us to even, we took that script and we've put it to the bottom just above the body, so it's the last thing that fires. So even within the environment of simplicity, they've allowed the complexity of us to be able to, oh, we actually need this to fire in the header. Okay, so you take this page-specific script, and you move it to the header, or you need it to fire at the very last at the body. It's really, really well thought out, and like I was like constantly when you're like in the no code space and you're working with more traditional developers, I don't know, sometimes there's this kind of tension of like, oh, are you a bullshitter? Are you really able to do what you can say you can do? But he was just like, yes, we don't need to move from this environment, because he's like, you can work with this well, I can work with it well, it fires quickly, it's got everything you need pretty much. And now it's even this problem that he thought we thought we couldn't solve, it was solved. So yeah,
Sounds
it's
like we
great.
need a tutorial, a visual tutorial from Mr. Tobin to show
Yeah,
off.
maybe. I suppose that this is all quite conceptual, but yeah, they there's but basically there's global. You can fire your scripts globally. You can fire it individually per page, and you can fire at the above the header and above the body. So you can they've given us the customization that a
To do
traditional
that, yeah.
development team would have. I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but it's
No, no,
pretty cool.
I haven't fallen asleep. I haven't. I promise you, I haven't fallen asleep. I'm still here.
This is your sleepcast.
I no, but hey, but honestly though, as someone, I think we've talked about it before, but I'm like, I wouldn't be a massive JavaScript guy. Um, I have enough JavaScript to get by, especially in the no code world, where if someone says, "Can we do this?" I now feel confident to go, "Yeah, of course we can do this," and I can go and find out how to do it, or
Hmm.
try it using some of the AI tools or my network to ask people how to do it. And there's loads of tutorials. What Slater is doing, and I guess other apps like Slater are doing. There aren't any other apps like Slater, but what they're doing is they're making people like myself feel that little bit more comfortable in dealing with that code, because
Hmm.
it just setting up the environment of linking stuff to GitHub and putting all those little different things in. Is it secure? Is it not secure? Like, where can people change this code? Can abuse it? Like all that stuff that is actually quite scary when you don't know how to work in those environments. Slater kind of packaging it up in the same way that Webflow have packaged the kind of designer up, and they've packaged it up and it made it accessible. So I'm just excited to see how many people who weren't really a JavaScript capable are now on board with the ability to use JavaScript in a little bit more of a fluid. Hey, it's just part of my workflow now. So,
Yeah.
and it'd be interesting to see how Webflow do it as well, because I think with with the recent announcements, their logo where they went, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, how much extra they put on getting the JavaScript experience that much more efficient in the
Hmm.
Webflow environment. Obviously Slater have got a march here, and they've got a very talented team who know what they're doing, lead very early, listen to feedback all the time. So they're charging ahead and moving pretty quickly. But it'd be interesting to see how Webflow look at that, especially Webflow got the dev link, which is React related, and it's driving
Hmm.
a lot of innovation and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm trying it on one platform. I still on one client, sorry, and I'm still the jury's out as whether I pitch it into the client to pay $10 a month for it. Um, but we'll see. They're not a stingy client, but they also don't want to pay 120 quid a year for something that they didn't need to pay for last year when I was doing it the manual way. So
Yeah. Well, like
you know,
the other way I look at it is, what do you pay, like $400 a year for Webflow? Like,
yeah, but
your client doesn't
it's
pay for that.
well, no, but
I just
it's 40 like it can be up to 40% of the host of Webflow hosting in JavaScript hosting costs. Now that is when you compare it that way, it is a lot. It is an extra.
I was more saying that just Well, the way I've done it is I've just bitten the bullet as a business cost, and I don't. I just keep it on my environment, and if
Yeah,
they
well,
ever want it,
yeah,
I
if
can
you can do
send
it
it to
that
them in
way.
the future.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous about doing that. With some clients, I wouldn't be nervous about, but other clients, if I got knocked over by the 53 bus, like I don't want their JavaScript hidden away that only
Yeah,
me are paying if I miss a bill or whatever and their carousel starts messing up. I don't. Um, but anyway,
yeah, true.
I yeah, let's see how it goes because as you say, it's early days. It is quite hard to conceptualize on an audio non-screen sharing podcast. So if anyone has
Well,
fallen asleep or fallen off the runner while they're listening to us or whatever they were doing, then apologies. But I think that's a good. I learned a lot there actually because I didn't think about all the intricacies of what you do with like a full stack dev versus just a no coder like myself.
yeah,
So
and I suppose like what what this is doing is like I've always seen Webflow as a VS Code, but for those who prefer to visually develop things. And it's just a front end environment, in my opinion, Webflow. It's a front end development tool. And this just, Slater just opens it up to more possibilities. And I, right now, the limitations are your imagination. I haven't come across a limitation yet.
you
But
should be writing the marketing page for Slater or doing a PR tour. Maybe we'll get you on a PR tour. You do a city tour like Slater,
I,
like
I think I've never been to Argentina, so cough, cough.
Jared will be getting you on a plane now and like
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
expenses paid trip to Buenos Aires to talk about Slater. Yeah.
But okay, so like, forget about like. So I was talking like super complex stuff. But if you get to the simple limitations of Webflow, CMS-driven elements that we do not have access to, Slater will allow you build out those elements. CMS-driven lightboxes, CMS-driven sliders, CMS-driven. What else are the things that tabs? And I know that you can do this through FinSuite, and you can, which is awesome as well. But um, you can also do it through Slater. And I suppose, like, I still use a lot of the FinSuite attributes, but over time, the more complex the stuff that I started to build, or the not complex, or the more amount of lines of code that were in something that I was building, the more times that the FinSuite code and my code started to compete against each other, and that that's not a problem until it is. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. It's a black box that once you have a problem, you can't actually get inside that black
I
box.
can't debug a FinSuite
Yeah,
attribute. I
yeah,
can't, and I
and
can't
yeah,
if their script and my code are causing errors. I can only manipulate what I've done. I
yeah.
can't manipulate what they've done. So like, and it mightn't even be necessary to do what I'm doing, but there's therein lies that is kind of where I started to well, it's more like the particular
To
project.
fall in love with Slater.
Yeah, to get more into, like, if
Yeah.
I was to do, let's say I wanted to do like CMS slider,
Are we
and there
going?
was a project,
Are we doing another example?
another example. But if I wanted to do something quickly, and it was a marketing website, I would definitely use FinSuite. Definitely
Yeah,
easy
yeah,
done.
no. Well, I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's like maybe they just need a chart, and it's like right in this instance, do it in Webflow. In this instance, do FinSuite. In this instance, do it yourself with ChatGPT, and in this instance, Slater, and see like because that's what people want to know is like when they start a project, they want to step back and go, what complexities do I need to put into this project, and therefore it allows them to I do that with JetBoost and FinSuite filters and search. It's like if
Mhm.
it's filters only, I go FinSuite. Don't worry about it; they work. When I
Yeah,
start talking about search and filters, I start going JetBoost search. works a bit better, in my opinion, than the FinSuite stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you start to go, okay, now we've got CMS, CMS favoriting, all those kind of things, and the little JetBoost boost stuff, I go, I'm in JetBoost all the way. It's super easy to use. I'm putting it on 20 pages, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, so just having that, be able to step back and then look at Slater and go, okay, I'm doing a 5-page website. I need JavaScript on page 1 and 5. I'll use Slater to help me write it and maybe debug it, but in the end, I'll move it over. Or if you're working on a bigger site where the client is improving things all the time, you might go, Slater, come in. You're my man or woman.
But do you
in.
not think that those things like JetBoost and FinSuite are just like a gateway drug to JavaScript? It's like it just gives you a little tickle. You're like, oh my god, this is so cool! Like how does this work?
You don't touch it. You don't touch it. It doesn't give you that little.
But you're getting high on the supply. It's like
but there's like you can't.
How does this work? I want to figure out how this works. And then and like what's amazing about what FinSuite have done is they've reverse engineered the limitations of Webflow and built out these cool products.
I do like them.
How did they do it? How did they do it? And I'm like, I want to write it. I want to know how they did that.
The other thing, and I don't know if it's a feeling you ever get, it's when you know someone or you've had exchanges with someone who is providing these products. I get a soft spot. Like I've had loads of exchanges with Chris from JetBoost who built JetBoost. And Noah over there, who does a lot of their customer troubleshooting and customer service and stuff, and they are the nicest people, super feedback. And so I migrate to JetBoost as this, like, I know these guys, I want to use their tool, and I want to support them. You know,
they're my friends.
I do feel like that sometimes, and I feel like that they're giving me superpowers to say to a client, you know, when they go, can we do this? Yeah, no problem, we can do this.
Yeah,
and FinSuite obviously have the same effect on a lot of Webflowers as well. And now Slater are going to have an effect on like people like yourself who work a little bit deeper in the low code space and are more comfortable there, because they're going to have that effect. It's like, yeah, every project I work on, I use Slater. They're awesome. Their tool is, they listen. I'm on the Slack channel. I asked for this, and then 2 weeks later, Jared released this thing, and it's like, I think that's, again, it comes back to this Webflow community, is that everyone's listening and no one's prescribing anything. And there are so many different ways you can do stuff that it just, it's each to their own, but in a positive way, you know? So,
100%. There's like,
it is ridiculous.
More than one way to skin a cat, you know? Like, it's so cool.
Talking about,
skinning cats.
Skinning cats. I've never skinned a cat. I don't want to skin a cat. Scanned a cat. Moving off JavaScript and Slater. My thing this week, which
we're only getting on to the second thing this week.
I know, we're 43 minutes in, and we're moving on to something that I can talk about.
That is grade 1 shy talking there for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah. And there wasn't even a dad joke in sight, unfortunately. So
we were too serious.
For those who have got this far, we'll add some dad jokes in now. So I engaged with Contra this week. Okay, so I'm standing here going, hey, look, we've got 2 months until the end of the year. It'd be good to test out another lead gen avenue, and Contra comes up a few times. Especially, I was speaking to a few guys at Webflow Conf, like, what's Contra all about? Like, is it working for you? And so I've started to put a few proposals through Contra for existing clients, because they don't charge a fee on the invoice or the payments. And basically within 2 days, I fell out of love with it. I can't use it. It has no leads. It has nothing. And it got me to think about, like, where do Webflowers get their leads other than referrals? Like, you know, you see on Twitter, and Twitter's a little bubble, obviously. There's a big Webflow community outside of Twitter as well. And a lot of referrals come, and that's where I get a lot of my business from. But I wonder if there's room in the way that Slater have come in and made the JavaScript workflow that much better. whether there's room for a dedicated kind of Webflow lead generation type marketplace. Like, because I know Webflow experts, the jury's out whether Webflow experts is good, bad, worth joining up to, not worth joining up to. Like, I haven't joined up to it myself, but I know people who have, and they don't get any leads, or they've been on it for 2 or 3 years and they've only got a couple of leads through. But it'd be interesting. I'm just keeping my eye on that side of things, because the market is challenging at the moment. There's a lot of freelancers out there who are very good at what they do, and they're not maybe getting as many leads as they used to maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, when Webflow was very new. And you'd think now more people are knowing about Webflow, that the leads would be coming through. But I don't know where do you get
I
your
think
leads
that this
from?
is a whole chat. This is a whole podcast in itself, I reckon. But
It is, yeah. But
um, so I haven't used Contra. I have used the Webflow experts. I've tried to get leads through Twitter. The majority of my leads have come through LinkedIn. And I get from old clients, I get referrals. But that would be, there's probably an hour there of chat on that one.
yeah, I think there is. It's always trying to find that. It's not an easy thing to do, and I know there are some that nail it. And they go, hey, I've done 200 grand's worth of work
Oh yeah,
this
but
year.
there's also a lot of fucking bullshit flexing on Twitter. Like, I have to
No,
apologize
I
to
know.
everybody that's been following me on LinkedIn and Twitter over the last few years. I have put out a lot of shite and
Yeah, I didn't want
regurgitated
to. I
stuff.
didn't want to say. I didn't want to
But
say that I've seen
it's
your.
the fucking game, It's just that social media game is putting out a lot of stuff. One of the things it really winds me up is the flexing about finances, and people like I don't fucking care if people say that they're not flexing; they're just kind of inspiring. I think it's bullshit. It makes people feel bad. It makes people feel like they're not doing as well. I think it's nonsense. And it kind of it really annoys me actually. This is how much money I make every month. This is how easy it is. And if you don't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, it's so simple. Like, I'm 15 and I make 100 grand a month. Nonsense. I think it's bullshit. Um, there's
I agree. I agree. There's nothing good comes of reading. Well, it's that, like, I think there are certain. I think it was Jan Lossart put something on last year of how successful his year was, and like, having met Jan and spoken to Jan before, I know that he's not one of those sort of
yeah, but
tweet bros.
no one puts up their 0K months.
No. But
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but hear me
it's
out. Hear
just
me
so
out.
disingenuous. Like,
No, but hear me out.
in my
He
opinion.
wasn't being disingenuous. He was being very transparent, and I think you can still be transparent and still be encouraging. But it's like, for me, looking at Jan, I'm like, I having known the guy, he's not one of these tweet bros who tweets every 5 minutes saying, DM or reply to this tweet to get the secret recipe and all this kind of stuff. He literally was just doing an annual summary that some people do on blogs, and some people will tell you in person, but he just did this, and that's kind of inspiring to know that someone can bring that amount of money in by working hard and being talented and getting the right leads. Now, on the other hand, there are moments where I look at them and look at some and go, hey, bro, you haven't got 20 recurring clients on your new subscription unlimited service, because I know the reality of like chasing leads, trying to find leads, chasing leads, proposing to leads, closing leads, and then delivering on those leads is so hard, even if you've got a leg up where people recommend you. It's like, you're not talking 9 out of 10 you can close. It's like 3 out of 10, and that means you need to get a lot of leads coming in. I speak to some of the guys who own pretty well-known studios, and I've worked for a couple of them, and they struggle because 2 or 3 years ago, leads were coming in left, right, and centre, and now leads are drying up a little bit. The whole economy is shrinking a little bit. Like, people are getting laid off in the tech sector, and I do see sometimes there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel when someone like Jan or Koisaw, for example, has a successful year. And I know those guys work so hard and are very talented at what they do. So it's just trying
Yeah,
to
okay.
work out like where do these people get their leads from would be a nice thing to know. But then if they tell us where they get the
a
leads
lot of it
from,
is
like
a lot of it is recurring clients. Like
no,
it's
it is, but
and
there must be
so
somewhere where you can get leads initially. As you say, LinkedIn is a good one, but do you have to tweet? So you have to post every 5 minutes to get those, or
yeah,
yeah,
you do.
but like it's that game which is just a. If everyone did that, no one would be doing that kind of vibe. You know, it's just like
Well,
wallpaper.
but that's it. Like when everybody does it, there's a slightly different direction to go. But like, okay, so let's say that some people are very honest in that kind of like putting content out like that about how much that they're making. The two things like and maybe like my my anger about this kind of content comes from like I have done huge months. I have done huge months, but those months I've had like I've had a project manager, a QA, a photographer, a copywriter, a UX designer, a junior dev, and then myself. And like no one says about their outgoings. They just say about how much their turnover is, and no one ever talks about the months that they've had zero. Like this is true. Like the month before my daughter was born, I had zero. Not just zero coming true, but zero in the bank. And no one fucking talks about that. And all they talk about is these ridiculous successes. You know,
No,
no one's going out there saying that they're
no,
on 30 grand a year.
but
No
I
one's on
think
there saying they're on 20 grand a year.
I
You
know,
know what I mean?
but harder thing to do. It is harder to talk and say, "Hey, look, people think I'm doing all right, but I'm not doing all right." It's quite hard to be public about that, and I think that is the often the downside of this build in public or tell everyone everything. You know, I really like what Nelson at Pixel Geek is doing at the moment. He is being so open about
Hmm.
he left a job where everyone knew him and what he was doing, working for Webflow. Then he launched a little Q&A startup kind of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then
Ophelia.
Ophelia, yeah.
Yep.
That's got a little bit quiet, and then he's obviously doing his freelancing with his studio with his partner.
Yeah.
And now he's going, hey, I've got 4 months of runway left. I need a job. And then you see him pop up on LinkedIn, guys, I need a job. And it's like that is very rare to see that. But I think
Yeah.
that's he's not bullshitting in the same way that say Jan and Koisaw are not bullshitting. And
Mm-hmm.
there are people, a lot of people who say, "Hey, I'm doing this X, Y, Z, Y, Z," and they don't talk about their income and their outcome in the same way, and talk about how much they actually have in the bank, you know, or I'm employing a team of 6 and realize that that's actually, you know, that's bullshitting, or that's contractors who they've used once in a month or whatever it might be. But I think there is room to do that. But I think what I was initially talking about was I see the market drying up a little bit in the in that last year I think I could almost guarantee that leads were going to come through on
Mm.
referrals through Twitter, whereas this year it's definitely been a lot slower. It's been so much slower that in the summer I had, I think, like a month where I wasn't working on any client projects. I kind of
Mm.
knew things were coming up, but I and it's quite scary. It's quite, you know, my wife went on maternity leave. It's quite scary. We're trying to get a mortgage, all that kind of. It's quite scary, and the avenues to try and find those leads. Maybe I'm not being creative enough, but Twitter you can't rely on. That's kind of you can't rely on LinkedIn. Maybe I'm not putting my head above the parapet enough on LinkedIn, or maybe my network isn't that way inclined. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll lean on something like Webflow Experts or Contra or Upwork, or and actually it's a grind. It's like that's on top of building the sites and learning all the new
Mm.
tools and upskilling and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's hard out there at the moment. I think it's really hard.
It's ridiculously hard. Like
Yeah.
I'll go back to like the month before my daughter was born. I remember coming home and being like, I just did 50 hours of work marketing and I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, I was fucking stressed, and I was just like, how am I going to do this? Like, and my partner, my fiance, she's like self-employed as well. Like, so the benefits aren't the same as if you're like employed and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, like, and it was, yeah, like it is. It's a grind, and the rewards like are definitely greater, but it's like the money doesn't come in all the time. Um, and that's kind of like the hardest thing I've ever found was generating new business.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. The the most amount of money I've ever made is maintaining clients and keeping keeping relationships with clients. Um, and yeah, it's like the so much so that I'm about to become employed because a client that came in and was a 1 day project, then it was 1 day a month, it was 2 days a month, then it was 4 days a month, and now I'm going to become a part of the organization because that's what they need, and and honestly, it's what I want because it's easier to maintain old clients than it is to find new clients. Um, so yeah, like it's the a lead stream is hard, like, and it's I paid someone to do that work for me.
Yeah, I remember you
That's how
saying,
I did
yeah.
it. I paid a guy a lot of money to get me clients of a certain value. And I think this kind of is the other side. Like, I've seen it. Like, I've done the grind. Like, and I know that it's I won't say it's impossible to do it by yourself. It's pretty close. And like, you know, I have an accountant to do my accounts. I had a sales guy to do my sales. I had, you know, I hire in all the other skills that when I need those skills. And like, pretty much my fiance runs the business, but I'm this face of it, like, and that's the way it is. Like, and there's always, you can get to a certain level, but once you go past a certain workload or financial threshold, it's really hard to do it by yourself, and to maintain that, because working for 50 hours a week on marketing and not getting paid for it is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I,
it's such a yeah. I think that you got the bullshit of that, but there's definitely that untalked about elements where there are faces of, and then there are the undercurrent of like the realism of having those quiet days or weeks that then become months. That your bank balance is kind of eroding itself, and you know that something else is coming up in the future. And it is. I wonder if there is no magic wand. I suppose there's no magic wand
no,
of going
absolutely
like,
not.
all right, this is where you get all your leads from. Like, like and there's disappointment. Like the Contra thing was, Contra's a tiny little bit of it, but like, hey, let's go and find some leads on Webflow on Contra, and there's two, and they were posted 30 days ago. It's like, so this gold hunt I went for has got nothing. There's nothing here. So then you kind of you've set up your account, you put your avatar in, you've put all your portfolio in, and you go like, oh, there's nothing here. And then you go back to square. You go, okay, right, Ailín, what do I do on LinkedIn? Like, what? Give me 100 tweet posts to put onto LinkedIn to,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just, and that's not a skill set. It is a skill set, but it's maybe not a skill set that a lot of us have, because we are
No, we're
very.
not salespeople.
No, we're not. Some people might actually have that element to it, and some people actually, like, I know some successful devs who are literally working day and night, churning out websites, have these. I wouldn't say they're called secret sources, but have agencies that they work for who feed them through contracts at different times of the year and different. And that kind of flattens things out. You know, when I was working at 80/20, I wasn't working all of the time because the clients weren't coming in, but they paid me a nice little kind of retainer to keep me on their books for a year. And it takes a lot of stress off. It adds
Yeah.
other things that you're not maybe working on projects that you might normally want to work on, or there are projects that you're churning out with clients who are more difficult or less difficult, or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it was like an income stream that I could rely on, and me and my family could rely on. And then when you go off that cliff, you can get really good months, as you said. I've got clients who like pop up and it's like, hey, right, we're doing a $6,000 website, and I churn it out in 4 days, and I'm dancing around the house at the weekend, going, this is so cool, I can do this and spend time with my kids and And then a month later, you're like, whew, there's nothing coming in. And it's maybe that's something. Yeah, maybe that's something we could do an episode on it. It's a bit dreary, but there could be some tips and things that we've learned that we could share with people that might help.
Yeah, I just realized we were recording a podcast and not just talking to each other. So, oops.
I know. Well, that's what we're doing. Hey, that's what we're doing, and I think, hey, like
as you said, there's no secret sauce. The thing that I found that helped me the most is I got a couple of retainers, to keep that like head above the water level, and then the jobs that came in, the jobs that came in then were like the spicy sauce that you add on top of your curry.
Yeah, that's it. And it's not, you're not going to have the Design Joy-esque riches that seem to be out there and publicized, and
it's like just... I'm not going to like say what people are not doing. I'm just saying that I just don't like seeing that content, even if people are making that types of money. Like, some of the biggest corporations in the world reluctantly post their profits and losses every year because they have to. They don't want to, they have to. And these companies are fucking huge. And then it's just like, I don't know. It just, I think there's more damage being done with that kind of content than there is inspiration.
You could be right, but I guess there's room for. I think there's definitely room for inspiring versions of it. But it's a fine line. It is a fine line because the rationale for posting that stuff, it could be an internal moral, ego boost. It could be part of a playbook that they've kind of, if you post this, then you get more clients, you get more visibility, clickbait, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day,
your Twitter if you start talking about making 5, 10, 15K a month.
Yeah, I wonder if you grow Twitter, if you start talking about making 0 this month because I didn't get any leads in.
Maybe
it'd be interesting.
Yeah. I just know when you talk about technical development stuff, your Twitter doesn't grow.
Who was I speaking to about? It's just the game. Oh no, I think I was it Jack Redley I was speaking to, or maybe I heard something he was talking about the YouTube. So YouTube, you might get 0 views on a YouTube video. After the first video you put up there got 1 million views, and and it's all algorithmic based. So there's no link between the content that you put out there and the quality of the content and the number of views it gets. It could be your first video that gets 1 million, the second video, third video, fourth video, fifth video don't get any views, and then your fifth video or the sixth video is something like the thumbnail looks a bit crazy, and then you get another 1 million views. And so the whole reliance on posting on social, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, is basically you're just rolling the dice as many times as you can.
It's consistency.
One day you'll catch a fish or a number of fishes.
It's more like, so what I was doing with LinkedIn, and I did it with Twitter as well. It's just you get out there a lot, like at least once a day, maybe twice a day, and it just means that you're seen a lot. Your impressions over the course of a month are insane, but the impressions per post are not that huge, and it just means that like somewhere down the line, someone's like, "That's the guy, the Webflow guy. I'll DM him." And it's marketing over sales. It's like you're
brand
seeing a lot.
building, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was my strategy, and it was a lot of work, cost a lot of money, but it worked.
There we go. We need to release a book. How to do it, how not to do it. A course.
Oh man, like I've no idea. I don't know. I have no idea. A lot of it's luck as well.
Yeah, no. Anyway, like this session has been right. So we went deep on Slater, then we had a heart to
And
heart.
Alan got cranky.
Then Matt started getting like real about his leads generation pipeline that should be magically appearing but doesn't. And yeah, we've hit an hour and 6 minutes. How do we do this? How do we chat so much?
Dive.
Yeah, how do we do this? This is I think we should get a medal for this.
Well, the insane thing is that we have to put a timer in front of both of us to make sure we don't go over an hour.
Yeah.
Because both of us have work to do. We could quite easily keep talking.
Yeah, I was speaking to Thoria from Snowhouse this morning, and I was telling him about how we used to just chat shit on a Zoom call, and then we're at Webflow Comp going, we should just record this and give it to people. And he goes, hey, I can come and chat shit with you if you want, because I do exactly the same with Thoria. It's just every
maybe you're the catalyst.
Maybe I'm just that I'm good at talking. No. I definitely think you and Thoria definitely give me a run for the money. But no. Like I thought, if we
turn off the camera now, and we'll both be just talking to nobody.
No, but what I was going to say is, if we got Thoria on here, there'd be three. We'd need 3 hours. We'd need 3 hours to talk, because we all need to get our voice in, don't we? We all need to be heard. This is, we've got this innate thing that I've
been protecting my voice all week so that I could talk this amount.
Anyway, I think we've talked to, and no one will get to this point anyway, because we're a minute 8 in, and we bored them at the start, and we bored them in the middle, and we bored them at the end.
There's nothing boring about JavaScript.
No. We called it the visual div, and we talked about.
We never even said it at the start.
Oh no! But this is our 3rd episode, so people all know by now.
Yeah.
But also, it's the visual div, and we were talking about JavaScript and hoping that people visualize it in their head while we're talking through it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, if you made it this far, well done. If you haven't made it this far, well, you didn't hear what I just said then. So, yeah, right. On to next week. We might.
Cool.
Well, we might do one in a couple of days.
Let's return to this, because we kind of just went. I wasn't expecting to talk about this at all, actually. But we should definitely return to this this topic. And I'll give you all the dirty secrets of how I don't know how to make money online.
And I'll tell you how when and why I'm going to tweet my my massive income from 2023. Make you feel really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Makes me feel awful.
Right. Okay. Well, catch you next week.
Cool. All right.
Good man. Okay.
Good luck.
Au revoir. Bye.
Bye.